The big mountain opened its mouth and spewed a large amount of oil, laughing proudly while showing off its wealth. Two other big mountains saw this and started clapping. The second big mountain immediately sprayed gold from its mouth. It even placed a gold crown on its head and proudly touched its gold teeth. The third big mountain also opened its mouth and spewed lava, showing its strength. In the corner, a small hill kept clapping for them. The three big mountains looked at the small hill, curious about what was in its mouth. The small hill reached into its mouth and took out a small ball. The big mountains picked up the ball with curiosity, but they found it ordinary. They laughed loudly at the small hill and casually tossed the ball back. Facing their mockery, the small hill felt very sad. He thought the ball had embarrassed him, so he threw it aside. Meanwhile, the three big mountains were secretly planning something. They gathered clouds in the sky and formed a large dark cloud that began to pour heavy rain. The big mountains placed the cloud right above the small hill, teasing it because they considered it poor. Night fell, and the big mountains, exhausted from their mischief, fell asleep, while the little hill continued to be drenched by rain. The little hill imagined becoming a big mountain and taking all the wealth of the other mountains, but it knew its dream would not come true. However, it still couldn't bear to part with the ball, but it turned out the ball had disappeared. Suddenly, many plant tendrils grew from the mouth of the little hill. The small hill quickly closed its mouth, but it still became the subject of ridicule by the big mountains. However, suddenly a large number of balls appeared and buried the big mountains, and a squirrel emerged from the pile. The squirrel came to the small hill's hand, scolded the three big mountains, then returned the ball to the small hill before leaving. The small hill looked towards the departing squirrel and smiled happily. Above it now stood a large tree that almost filled the entire sky. It turned out that the ball swallowed by the small hill was a pine seed that, after being watered by rain, grew into a pine tree larger than the three big mountains. Although the big mountains are rich and the small hill seems poor, never give up on yourself, because one day we might grow into a towering tree.